inner state, which is going to be the only one in South America. Okay. Yeah, the algae. Of course. Yeah, no, but I'm busy. Es muy bajo, no veo a los chicos detrás. Avísame solo cuando estamos. Lucas. Don't play? Okay, well, privileged seats. Okay, guys, welcome.
You're late.
Come whenever you want. It's a hotel, you know. Welcome. Alessandro, nice to see you. Okay, guys, so the first time with the microphone, hopefully everything works. Nice to see that we are so many today. I guess it has something to do with the news about the cédulas. That might have created some extra motivation to show up. Next time we want to fill an event, we're going to there's mega news about cédulas. Later on, we're going to be joined for the asado by the social media manager of the President of the Republic. That's going to be nice. And also by a very other important member of parliament. And they're going to also want to hear what we have to say. We are pushing for an official press release about that. And if there are questions about the cédulas, I'm going to be more than happy to reply. Also, I wanted to confirm that we have received the list, I have received the list not only of the cédulas that were ready today, but also of some that will be ready. I didn't understand if tomorrow or Friday, because they got approved already. So now they have to be printed only. And when they have to be printed only, it can take 1 or 2 days. So it's either tomorrow or Friday. And by doing a first screening, I realized that indeed some countries are absent. Indeed, some countries are absent. The ones we were already, as we said yesterday, thinking they were going to be missing. But the other cédulas, in every group of 30, there are only 3 or 4 missing. So this is why today we got 27. So out of 30, 3 will get seriously delayed. The others got delayed by 20 to 35 days, no more. The next one, they said it's another 26. So out of 30, 4 were actually delayed, will be delayed more significantly. And I've checked the list. During this conversation, I hope MANU, or when she comes for the asado, she will bring a proper list of how many days have passed by nationality. But I would say that most of the world, Europe, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, we have seen homogeneous timelines in which if before we would deliver everything, get the cédula in a couple of weeks, now we are seeing a month and a week, give or take. So not so bad. Question that remains open is, what about those delayed ones? Is it going to take 2 more weeks, 2 more months? No one knows. Our understanding that they explicitly told us about, France in particular, is that France is reluctant based on the person themselves. The more a person is a higher taxpayer, the more they delay the informe. So mixed news, right? Good news for some, bad news for others. But overall, I would say we see that 85% of cédulas are not getting affected by more than a month after the supposed timeline. And it is supposed to get better, as when we found out about this process, we started asking the police officers to start the informe even before we have the residencia, because that is just a request for information. So they request your information even before your cédula is processing, and that means welcome. And that means we save another 30, 40 days of waiting for the informe, which at this point should mean most of countries are going to revert back to the previous overall timeline, and the delayed countries, we're still going to be 40 days better off than the cédulas that are being processed now. But we don't know exactly how many weeks it will take. Hopefully, no more than 3 months, which is the kind of worst case scenario they painted to us. Okay, so this is just to give you an update of what happened today in terms of how the progress we've made in understanding of the situation. There's going to be more questions about this, more than happy to answer. Other than that, as always, we're here for the weekly Q&A, so not just about the Cedula news, any questions about living in Paraguay, the residency here, investing in Paraguay, driving license, what to do, best restaurants, crypto, banking, anything that you may want to ask. There are 0 stupid questions. Just feel free to ask anything that may be of interest for you and then can help you, approach better life here, the residency process, anything. I'm more than happy to reply to absolutely any topic. Less than super personal ones, let's say. Let's start from the front and go with the snake, like we generally do. There is an assumption that if they sit in the front, they are more extrovert and they wanna. Sure, no problem.
I can be the first one. I want to ask the same question because I think the problem for me, because I'm French, okay? I'm not going to get my civil anytime soon, and I have many problems. Obviously, I have companies that have a lot of QIC. I have to have a tax certificate as a work, I have a tax number. Mm-hmm. So I'm using the old one, but I'm actually living it now because of that. So I don't know whether I'm also doing the survey or the investment with the property. But the VAT, I don't understand. I don't know what's going to happen to me now. Mm-hmm. And so the rule is extremely important for me. But I understand you can only wait the process from the French government goes past. But anyway, sorry to use this word, But where I'm going to go right now, it's a little bit of an unknown.
Yeah. About the tax number, that of course is tightly connected to having the cedula, because the RUC at the end of the day is just your cedula number plus 1 digit at the end. So our understanding of the situation is that there is going to be a kind of timeout after those 3 months. So if it takes more than 3 months, they just can't keep waiting forever before getting an informe. So the understanding they gave us, we'll see if that is respected, is that there is going to be a cut line in which after 3 months, if the informe didn't go in, the cedula still moves. Which means for the real estate investment, you'll be fine because it's going to take, say, another month and a half to finish the construction, then it has to be sold. When you find the seller, still you have to do a lot of paperwork. So you'll be fine for that. For having a proper tax number, what I suggest everyone in the classic situation where you want to have a US LLC and invoice your clients through the US LLC and make it work that way, you can update the data later and use the number of your immigration card in the meantime. But what happens is that when you open the LLC, you don't have the problem to show the cedula. You can show only the passport. You have to provide a valid proof of address to open the bank account. That is, you guys know we offer the full service for that with the residency rental contract and the utility bills, so that is easy. Now, before, there was a problem with bank accounts, but I have recently started using Ugly Cash Business, and that could have been opened 100% only with the immigration card, the residency card. So that means, I want to just ask these questions to you guys. Does everybody here have clear the distinction between the residency card and the cedula? Okay, no, some people, okay, good to know. So at the end of this process, you will receive 2 different documents, okay? The cedula, which is your identity card for Paraguay, and the residency card. The residency card is issued by the Department of Immigration, and the cedula is issued by the police. The goal of the residency card is to prove that you have a valid residency permit in Paraguay, that you can stay here, enter, exit when you want, etc. The cedula identifies you economically mostly. So it's the one that they ask for opening bank accounts, the one they ask. You can have a rental contract also with a passport, but if you have a cedula, they want to see the cedula. If you want to open the RUC, you must have that. If you want to open a company, you must have that. If you want to rent a car in some places, you must have that. So anything that is tied to your economic life, also banking, credit cards, etc., is tied to having a cedula. But your residency permit, the status of being a person that is allowed to reside in Paraguay indefinitely without the need to stamp the passport or get a visa, without any maximum amount of days per year and so on and so forth, is tied to this yellow card that is the residency card. The cedula is super important for tax residency because, as I was saying, is the key to getting the RUC. The residency card is a valid travel document at the airport. In fact, the people that are working there are from the Dirección Nacional de Migraciones, which are the same people that were working at the office in which you surely have given your email address and your phone number, and the lady that was with you presented all the folder. That is the central headquarters of the same institution that has people checking the borders, checking the airport, everywhere people go in and out. And they are the ones who issue the residency card, right? So that is a super valid travel document. And the cedula is then tied to economic activity. In order, things move like this. Once the residency card is ready, the cedula can be obtained, okay? In the past, in different occasions during the last 5 years, there were issues with the residency cards. So that would cause an issue with the cedula as well, because until this is solved, you cannot get the cedula. While where we stand now, the residency card hasn't changed one bit. Same processing time, same everything. And just the cedula has to go through this additional police information request. And this police information request is something that once your country of origin replies, saying, okay, yeah, the guy is clean, doesn't have any criminal record, then the cedula can be processed. Up until that point, they have to simply wait until somebody from your country of nationality sends that information out. Okay. But the residency card is not impacted, and for the classic scheme of the LLC, the bank account, etc., super good. If you want to show that you have a valid residency permit in Paraguay to your own country, you can also use that. The cedulas still, as we said before, not 90% of people will not notice a big impact on that. For those who are from France, Mexico, Peru, etc., my suggestion is, if you want, just try to get in touch with the Interpol of your own country, saying that Paraguay is awaiting a response to a request for information about you, and if they could please move their ass, that would make your life so much easier. And I think there's a good chance that they're not from the government, right? So they can be good people as well at times. They will surely have that digitally in their system, and they just have to probably just press a button and say, all good. So that is the best iteration point you have with them.
Could you just kind of break down the timeline for the residency card, or not even residency card, it's not the yellow card?
Yeah, it's the yellow card. Yeah, it's the yellow
piece
card.
of paper?
No,
Okay.
it's a card.
All right, so
Okay, you have.
I've got a yellow piece of paper.
Yes.
Is it precarious? So
Yeah, residencia precaria, the precarious residency. So when you apply successfully for the residency card,
yeah,
you get this yellow residencia precaria paper, okay? And that has a 90-day validity period
right.
in which you're already considered a resident. Basically, Paraguay tells you, it's gonna take us some time before we issue your card, but in the meantime, we wanna cover you with this. So it acts like a bridge, okay? And it gives you the certainty that your application was taken successfully by Migraciones, and now it's just about waiting for your residency permit to be explicitly printed on the plastic card.
Okay.
Then 40 days after, you receive the plastic card. Generally, you guys don't go and pick up the plastic card, etc. We go pick up the plastic card and use it to then go ahead with the cedula. Okay.
Okay.
So generally, then the delivery of both documents happens at once we have both.
Okay. So you have it, then it takes this extra period of time, which
Yes.
is what we're discussing, and what's that?
Yes. There is a guy.
Extra period of time.
Exactly. So there's one of our guys called Andy. Andy's job is basically, once you obtain this residencia precaria, okay, you get assigned a unique code, an alphanumerical code, that is the number of your expedientes, basically of your residency card application. We have a platform in which all of those are listed, your name and that, your name and that. And every day, he only works at Migraciones. So it doesn't work at any of our offices. It just uses that computer that is right there, inputs all the numbers of everybody, and there are 7 stages through which this residency card moves. He marks, okay, Mark card has reached step number 3, John card has reached step number 4, etc. When it reaches step number 7, it's ready to collect. It marks ready to collect, and then the logistical team, we call it, there are 4 guys whose job is to run around the city collecting and delivering documents, knows that the day after they have to collect those residency cards. And this is also why you sign the power of attorney. That gives us that power to go and collect those residency cards for you guys. And then in the next 4 to 5 business days, all that paperwork that they gave us, sometimes it's messed up, so we have to go through review. Sometimes they just keep some translations, we have to do them again. Sometimes there are some documents missing and we have to redo them. Yeah, so we have to basically recheck all the folder and then make sure it's ready to go and process the cedula. Okay, so there's a 4 or 5 days buffer time in which the folder gets reviewed, assessed and everything, delivered to the police. And then finally the process for the cedula starts. As it was before, the cedula process starts and boom, 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 moves across all the lines until it has to receive this informe, starting our understanding, like we know for a fact that it must be the 6th of October that started. Like in hindsight, it's very obvious because there were certain timelines up until that day that never got respected ever after. So we know for a fact it was the 6th of October. Basically, until the 6th of October, everything was moving normally. After the 6th of October, it would reach this informe, and then it would depend on your country of origin. How it goes now, we can say, hey, this person will have to apply for the cedula. May you please start the informe now? Then we do the residency card thing, wait those 40 days for the residency card to arrive, the 45 days buffer time. During those 45 days, you're already getting checked. So the idea is if you're from one of those countries that doesn't have specific delays, then your paperwork moves just as fast as before. Once we noticed that, it was mid-December. So in mid-December, we started, all the clients have applied for residency or cedula. After mid-December, we got their informes running from before they actually had this thing. So at the end of January, we're going to be collecting some residency cards from mid-December. And these residency cards from mid-December, when we do all the processing folder for the cedula, should have already, most of them, the informe clean, done, set, approved, and not caused any delays. The ones that got delayed, we knew that this informe was a thing, but apparently in the beginning they were like, yeah, you know, we don't necessarily need to wait, right? It's just, yeah, guy sounds clean. And now they are much more serious. In the last few days, when we asked, like, is this plastic cards the issue or is anything else the issue? And they said, no, listen, the plastic cards, you know, we can find them. The informers are the ones that are really causing the delays. But I also, on the 15th of February, all the team that deals with the documents and everything will move to a new office where we will incorporate accounting, residency team, and the customer service all under one roof. And I will want to invite you guys to know, you know, to meet the guys, but also to know how we process documents, because Nicolo has 20 years of experience in Kanban, Six Sigma, Lean production management, and then he came to Paraguay, he was my client, and then I said, do that for us, please. And so the way we move the documents is like very streamlined, very efficient, it's very safe, everything is archived with barcodes, etc. And yeah, I think it would be cool if you guys knew, like, we put in really our part. But That's not necessarily enough because we depend on the counterparty as well. Not to say that we never fuck up. Of course, there are always human mistakes, but we have control mechanisms that make sure that when it happens, we realize very soon. So before that becomes an issue. And that is the overall timeline of everything as of now.
Right. Hi. Well, firstly, I'm Johan. Nice to meet everyone. I'm from England, originally South Africa, and I'm here now my second month. Somos Paraguayos. Me, wife, kids, dog, we're here, and we love it. So I've got two questions. The first one, I think, just to circle, I know we want to move on in this fight, but there's one question regarding folks like us that got our residency cards, our cedulars and everything earlier. So we got ours, I think, March last year.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to understand what happens with us in terms of, when we take it now to permanent residence or renewals or passport or whatever. Are we going to have to basically go through the same process again, even though we're no longer resident in, for example, the UK? Or we still need to source more criminal record documentation? So that's the first question.
No. The documents required for all the processes stay absolutely the same. So what you will have to present is going to be the same. But when you go and upgrade from temporary to permanent, you have to do a new cedula, okay? That is not valid for 2 years anymore, it's valid for 10 years this time, okay? That process will follow, and they have already told us, the same exact procedure. So you will not have to show a background check from your country of origin, but they will have to get in touch with your country of origin and do the informa. That goes for SUACE, that goes for the renovation of permanent residencies. Anything that has to do with renewal of cedulas will go through this informa.
Okay, so and that will apply then, how does the UK perform in terms of turnaround time for these sorts of checks?
We have UK cedulas in this group that arrived today. So it looks one of those countries that is not in the mega efficient group, which is Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, but not in the problematic group. I've seen also Italy has delivered quite a lot. And Canada was also on the list. Yeah, Italy, we got 6 cedulas from Italy today. It was the country that we collected the most. The most, yeah.
Yeah, because it's from Italy.
Now, I think it's true that the Italian Interpol is very efficient because we had a lot of mafia members going around the world. So it's true. The third largest DEA station after Washington and Bogota is in Italy. And the second largest Interpol station is in Italy. So because of that, they are very much used to receiving information requests from Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, like all those countries where criminal activity goes on. Italy receives a lot of informers requests, and then they process them pretty fast. I guess other countries where they have less of these problems, they are not as used as, or have so much human resources and tech stack.
I guess there was something you said, maybe there was a French guy working for 1 year, I was scared ahead of it.
Just gonna collect my vape, nothing more. Okay. Okay, sorry, you had a second question?
Yeah. So just quickly, our kids, we've got, underage kids. Will they now need to also apply for more documentary evidence from the UK?
No, actually, the good news is below 14 years of age, there is no request whatsoever, neither to bring a criminal record certificate nor any informe.
Oh, but ours was under 14 and she'll be over 14.
In that case, the only thing that basically she's gonna have the same process as everyone else. So if she has to apply for temporary, then it means she will have to bring the criminal.
Okay.
If she doesn't have, she just has to apply for the conversion to permanent. At that point, there is not gonna be any need for the certificate from the UK. But in both cases, there is gonna be the request for informe automatically done by Identificaciones to the UK.
Okay, right. Sorry to keep you. So I'm just going to quickly jump to the second question then. In terms of tax, so we got our look now, started finding my EBAs, and I found that the schools that we have now enrolled the children in, they're basically listed as a foundation, which means they don't pay any IVA and there's nothing claimable against our group. So my question was, in the instance where you are enrolling your children for school, because some of these private schools, it's no trivial amount, it's quite a bundle of cash.
Yeah.
I believe you can get these facturas from the school and apply towards your IRP. And I guess I just wanted to understand, is that your individual sort of tax return? Just if you wouldn't mind explaining how would I be able to claim or
Yes.
account for that? Thank you.
Actually, this is an interesting question because it allows me to say something we never said in any Q&A before. Ta-da! Expenses for education are always tax deductible, even if they are from abroad. So even if you then send your kids to study in the UK, you can also deduct that. But the deduction, if there is no IVA, if there is IVA, you can deduct from IVA and from IRP. And if there is no IVA, only from IRP. IRP, for those unfamiliar with it, we have two main taxes for individuals in Paraguay. When we sell something, there is VAT, okay, which in Spanish translates to IVA. That is very simple. It's 10% on most things, 5% on few selected goods and interest and rental, and then it's 0% on very few other selected goods considered like of basic necessities, okay? And also on exports, things that get exported. What happens is, if there is a foundation, there is no IVA, because the school is not a company but a foundation, but you can deduct it from the second tax that we pay in Paraguay, which is the IRP, which is Impuesto a la Renta Personal, basically personal income tax. Personal income tax is 10% of your revenue minus your expenses. Of course, local revenue minus local expenses, other than this exception of foreign expenses for education. And in this case, it works like this. If you make more than 50 millions a year in revenue, you are mandated to declare. If you want to disclose foreign income as well, you are mandated to declare. So most of our clients will have a declaration, even if they don't make it to 50 million in local income. And if you make more than 80 million Guarani, you start paying the maximum tax rate, which is 10%. It goes 8, 9, 10%, okay? There are some things that you will not have IVA for. Example, employees. Since we pay their salary, there is no IVA on top of it, right? No VAT. So I cannot deduct it from the IVA, but they can be deducted from personal or corporate income tax, because depending on who is employing them, if a person or a company, but they still represent a cost that's related to your business, and therefore they will be deducted in that case. So in your case, you can deduct it from that personal income tax at the end of the year, but not from the IVA.
Okay. So there's still a way, because ultimately the IVA comes off your personal income tax anyway, from a monthly perspective, to account for the VAT that you spent, so that you can claim back against whatever income tax you were due to pay. And then you're saying, if I understood correctly, for the foundations or the schools, there's no IVA, so it doesn't go by IVA route, but it's still something that can be deducted from your personal income tax.
Exactly. Other things you would deduct both. So if you buy the chair and you will have, say it costs $11, it's gonna be $1 of IVA and $10 of chair. That we can deduct 1 from our monthly IVA and 10 from the revenue we have. At the end of the year, all the revenue minus all the costs become the IRP, the IRP or personal income tax we will pay, okay? They do not compensate each other though. So I can have IVA credit and maybe ERP to pay. I cannot use this credit on IVA to pay my ERP and vice versa, okay? So that is the only kind of unfortunate thing about the deduction. Like, it's not bad though, because the cost would be 10% higher on the monthly payments to the school if they were applying IVA. Like, yeah, it would be tax deductible, but it would be charged in the first place. So at the end of the day, it's a zero-sum game.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kak, I change topic now. I'm gonna talk about the passport. Like last time, you remember like what
Mhm.
I said that like 6 months my passport was expired. Now it's 5 months. I came back from Brazil,
Okay.
and Argentina. Now, last time you say just let's wait the address to get the address. So after you can apply with the address, Paraguayan address. But because like there is this delay for the cedula, probably we don't know for Italian how it work.
When did you apply?
And I applied the 10th of December.
Just for the cedula, or you were doing the gold package?
No, the go package.
The gold package means that in December, your residency card will be ready at the end of this month or early February. And the cedula is going to be ready in early March.
I
Or
have the immigration.
the residency, yellow residency card already? Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
So that means that your cedula will be actually ready earlier than I just said. Probably like mid-February, end of February maximum.
That's good. So I still usually just need to wait before applying for the renewal of the passport.
Now you can prove to Italy that you are residing in Paraguay with the residency card. I think the best choice in this case is going to the consulate and explaining the thing. My passport is about to expire, but the cedula will take a certain amount of months. And the Italians at the diplomatic mission here, they are very chill, very flexible, and they're gonna be like, yeah, whatever. So I don't think there's gonna be any problem whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to go to the consulate myself. I still didn't register the marriage, so if you want, we can go one day together.
Okay. Just let me know.
Yeah, next week would be ideal because I'm delaying this so much, man. Like I should have done this way earlier. Thanks.
One question about the bank. You say in the group that there is a bank that you don't recommend because you have issues. Currently,
Meru.
so for application problem, you recommend to you.
No, Aglicash, no problem. Plus, we have met the team from Aglicash twice at the Dev Connect in Buenos Aires when we went to the Ethereum Dev Connect, because there are offices of Aglicash in Buenos Aires. They had like 100 guys at the Dev Connect. I met a lot of them. And we discovered that they had also a guy hired in Paraguay who we met, and now he's in Miami.
Okay.
And in 6 months, he will come back. But we have very good contacts inside Aglicash. They are super well funded and no problem. Meru, I still do see some people that are telling me that there are no problems. And I also have met other guys who had the same problem I had. It looks like if it's smaller amounts, it's good. But if it's higher amounts, then they start annoying you with reasons why they cannot let you withdraw your money. And that is pretty annoying. So I removed all my funds and I don't plan on using it anymore.
For application, we don't need the address there. Okay.
For Aglicash, especially Aglicash Business, you can just they didn't ask any like when you had the identity card verification, you could use ID card, passport, or immigration card. So no problem. There is also one news that I didn't try yet, but someone dies as someone is born. So Meru was commonly a very easy way to send money to your Paraguayan bank account because it would allow you to withdraw money and receive as a local wire transfer, not a foreign one. Well, this morning I logged into my Weno account and they have launched a new service that I yet have to try, but it works like this. You can recharge your Weno account with a debit or credit card. So supposedly you just check out like on Stripe and that money gets converted to Guarani and falls directly into your Weno account and the service is inside Weno. So that would make it a lot easier to recharge a local account. You don't even need Mero at that point.
When?
Yeah, Bueno is still a bank account we always recommend you open. It does require the cedula, but it's the easiest. It can also be opened remotely. It's the best to pay your taxes, especially if you're declaring in the RUC but you don't live in Paraguay. The only bank account you can usually manage, fund, and pay taxes from abroad is Bueno.
Last question, for a person that has digital marketing agency and like have a client everywhere, in Paraguay or USA, if I live here, how will work with taxes?
Okay, you live here, you have an LLC, and you charge clients for marketing services.
Yes.
Okay. If you work in Paraguay, you technically have a permanent establishment in Paraguay and owe taxes on the amount of money that you have produced in Paraguay. Okay. Well, if you travel around the world and work from outside of Paraguay, or even if you just cross to Clorinda, that's enough to be absolutely tax-free. With this said, as we mentioned in other occasions, Paraguay doesn't really apply that level of tax control in which, you're doing these, I will check what you're doing. If you have offshore companies, I will tax you. No, because they don't want to, because they're not so sophisticated, and because they don't care. So Paraguay has it a bit different. It's more like, if you want to bring the money in Paraguay, you either show me that it was taxed abroad, or you show me it was taxed here. Otherwise, we will not let it enter the Paraguayan banking system. Okay? So for this reason, if you were to bank your proceedings in a foreign bank account, what Paraguay cares about the money you've made through the LLC is close to nothing. But just know that in theory, that is how it shall work. You shall invoice the LLC from your RUC every month for the amount of money that you have produced in Paraguay that month. Out of 10,000 people with LLCs in Paraguay, 200 of those guys will really do that. Can give you a true statistics. But just know that there is the theory and there is the practice. Now you know both. Choose wisely, right?
Okay, I have two quick questions, hopefully quick questions. So in the WhatsApp group, kind of got lost in a lot of the chats there, but there's a lot of chats. But somebody mentioned that Bitcoin exchange that had a 3-letter acronym to it.
X4T?
That's it. Is that something that is a solid thing? Is that going to be open with just that yellow piece of paper, or what are your thoughts?
Okay. Let's split my reply in two. Okay? The owners are amazing people. They are our close friends. We went to their wedding. We hang out with them. They are so cool. I don't use their service. Okay?
Fair enough.
Because of different reasons. The first reason is, let's say you want to cash out 1,000 USDT
Sure.
to Guarani. They will charge 3% from USDT to dollar. That means you lose your first $30 right there. If you want to convert to Guarani straight through them, the exchange rate, I think today we are at 6,726. Okay, they will do 6,400.
Yeah, we'll make up people.
Yeah, but it's a big one. Yeah, it's gonna be 6% you lose interest. So maybe if you want just to cash out some little amount of money here and then, no probs. It's gonna serve you well. They are very proficient, very lovely, great. But we cash out a lot of money, so that percentage is undoable. So we have our intermediary to go for that.
Okay.
And it's a person that I've trusted for, I don't know how many, but surely more than $2 million so far he has converted, because that's cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out. It's the overall cash flow of the company, right? Never I had an issue. This morning we sent another 15K, so easy peasy. You send USDT Tron to the wallet he gives you. He either the same day or the following day shows up with the money. If it's in dollars, what we pay, and that's what basically the market rate is 1.2% if it's in that range of 10K, 20K. If there is like some bigger amount, like we do when there is some real estate transaction, etc., can go down to 0.6, 0.7, you know. And if you convert to Guarani, today he would give you 66.50. It's less than a 1% spread generally between the exchange rate, the like Google exchange rate, and what it would give you. So let's say that $1,000 with him would become $985, and maybe in Guaranis, okay, already converted in Guarani, yeah, $980. With Export-E, they would become $940.
Great.
And that's $40 difference every $1,000 changed.
Okay,
And it comes to your door.
great.
That is included. While Export-E, you have to go there.
Okay,
And he doesn't require you to prove this and that. The others do.
okay.
So they're more flexible than banks. They don't necessarily require sworn like for big clients, like no, it's not like they don't require translations. I remember when we in the beginning used them, they would basically pay for the translation of the documents themselves. That was kind of them. But other than that, you still have a lot of KYC, and either you have the EVAs or you have our way does not include that paying. So.
Okay, and how do we interact with your way? Like, what's the simplest process?
Yeah, I'll give you the number.
What's that?
I'll give you the number.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that's, okay.
Easy.
And when you say cash, are you meaning cash, or are you meaning into a bank account, or what does that look like?
You can deposit into your bank account. There's no problem.
Okay.
Or you can show up with cash.
Okay. And so the last question is there anything that somebody can do with a yellow card and a passport about getting a bank account, or no? When I say yellow card, I'm sorry, I mean the
Yellow paper, no.
yellow paper and passport doesn't get you an account.
Yellow paper, no. Residency card, there is one bank which can be tried, which is Baza. Rumors have it they are okay now with this. Most banks will require the cedula.
Okay, so does that mean we have to come back to open a bank account?
No, you can open Bueno, as we said, remotely.
Once we've got the cedula
Yes,
in hand?
yes.
So in a
You can
couple
do
months.
all of that remotely, yes.
Okay.
Because you have the KYC all done online. They open your account digitally. If you have to raise limits, you can do it digitally. Everything is handled digitally with
Okay,
Bueno.
awesome. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I have several questions, but just in another background, not just talking about the passport and all that stuff. It's just more about logistics, about how this works. I have many questions, so I think that some of them, it's better if I ask directly to my consultor. I am in the group with Google. But there are some quick questions that, I have a couple of questions. I think that we can solve them now. Okay, the first is for those people that we already have LLC in the United States and we already have a Mercury account linked to our LLC, are we able to open a new one?
The right way to do it is to just, like, if you want, you can delete your account, but I wouldn't go for that. You can just change the information inside Mercury.
Because, sorry, go ahead.
Every year they will ask you mandatorily to reply, like, is this information correct? I had this check done on the 18th of January. They were fine. So for one more year, you never know with banks, right? So I'm always quite nervous. But every year they will force you to put that information once again. In the meantime, you can always change it. So you can go to your beneficial owner information, where you go to your account settings, you will see beneficial owner, you will go there and be like, okay, address, document number, tax number, everything is going to be tied to your previous situation. You can change that all inside Mercury, and you shall change that even earlier into your LLC. That goes two ways. If the LLC is in Wyoming, where is the LLC?
Delaware.
Okay, Delaware, for instance, is just like Wyoming. It should give you absolutely no problem. No problem. Those incorporated in Florida, which also has zero state tax, but it's got more publicity of documents, it's a little trickier to change the information. But Delaware, Wyoming, it's super, super easy.
Okay, I was asking this because I don't know, maybe it's also the scenario of someone else. I have already my LLC open and my Mercury account linked to my current LLC. So I was wondering that because now when I'm working in Europe, I have that LLC and I'm making payments from that LLC to my account in Europe. So I would be interested in keeping that one and opening a new one. Just like the new one will be eventually for my Paraguay stuff and the old one for my Europe stuff. So I would be interested in having the two at least for this year. Maybe at the end of this year or at the beginning of the new one, I can just move all the money for the first to the second, close the first one, and just keep it to Paraguay, you know? But by the moment, I would be interested in keeping both of them.
You mean bank accounts for you as a person or for the LLC?
I mean opening a new LLC.
Okay.
As my advisor suggests me, and keeping the last one, and you know, because the Mercury accounts, they are linked to an LLC.
Yes.
So opening a new Mercury account to the second one, and at least keeping them some months until I can move my money from one to the second and close the first one.
Okay, that works, but there is one fundamental issue if you open Mercury for both the LLCs. The beneficial owner is still going to be the same person that is registered in the database with your name, your address, your document number, and everything else. If you just open a second LLC with a different address and you put the different set of information associated to your number, to your documents, to your name inside Mercury, what you highly risk is triggering just an algorithmic problem in which compliance team goes like, hey, like we do in our platform, right? There are a lot of problems we catch without anyone actually catching it. The platform catches it. It's like, there's this guy who is arriving on the 4th of February, and the translations aren't ready yet. You know, because when you do a translation, you mark it as requested and then as completed. You scan the document, the platform knows the translation is really there. I don't need to check, these guys are running on the 4th of February. Let's see if everything is okay. No, if one thing is not okay, the platform tells me. The same thing the banks have on steroids. So if your name is associated to two different tax residencies, different documents, etc., what you risk is being banned twice by Mercury. So if you open a second LLC tied to your residency in Paraguay while you keep the other one, I would suggest use another different bank account that is not Mercury to open the account for the second LLC. In the one that already has Mercury, check on which date you have last done the compliance. It can be either when you registered or exactly 1 year after you registered. Every year they ask the information. If they ask the information, and now you lack the documents to prove that you reside in Europe, they will also close the account. So check if maybe you have already done it November last year, you have until November of this year before they come asking questions. Wonderful. Open either OneSafe or Ugly Cash Business or Jeeves or Airwallex for the new LLC, so you don't face that risk.
Okay. So I have just two more questions, quick ones. For example, with the people that I've been talking so far at the moment, they are like digital nomads that will settle here in a like regular basis and permanent basis, or people that just will came here to invest. But for example, in my case, I don't know if it's the case from someone else, I am self-employed, so I have my customer, and the customer requires me where he requires me, like could be any country in the world. So my question is, imagine that, for example, I finish one of my projects and I run out of projects, and they told me maybe until next year we don't have a new project. So during that gap, I have to work. So imagine eventually that I can go to my last company when I was employed and I was not self-employed. Imagine if we have this scenario and I am paying my taxes and a tax residential here in Paraguay, and suddenly for a couple of months I have to be employed in Europe, for example in Spain, in my country, would suppose that a problem for my residency in Paraguay, because if I am employed and not self-employed, I have to pay taxes there, everything, so I have to sync up again in my country. And after maybe I say, okay, I've been working like 6 months eventually. After those 6 months, I will have a new project as self-employed, so I can just drop being employed and came back to Paraguay. I don't know if you understand my question.
Yes. So when you physically go and work in Spain for those 2 months, that is the only moment in which your tax residency in Paraguay can be useful or not. If you're physically working from Spain and employed from a Spanish company, you should double check what Spain rules this to be the case, because every country is different. In some countries, you have an allowance of days you can work.
Yeah, in Spain, I saw the law, and just all the money that you're making when you are employed by a Spanish company, automatically you are a Spanish tax resident in Spain, automatically.
In that case, in those 2 months, you will be paying taxes to Spain. You can also report that income at the end of the year to Paraguay, showing you pay taxes, all G, no problem. But if Spain demands that when you're on their territory, even for 1 day working there, you pay taxes there, that is the only way you can actually do that. Once you're self-employed and working from any other place and doing it with your RUC, no problem. That goes straight with the Paraguayan RUC and the Paraguayan tax residency.
Okay, that was my main question, because maybe, I don't know, if I have to drop my Paraguayan RUC, maybe when I give up in Spain after some months, I have to come back here and apply for a new time and stuff. No, maybe
No.
And okay, like last question, sorry, but I am keeping the monopoly of this. My last question is, for example, when I've been employed before, I was working for a Spanish company, but I was working also abroad. And for example, I remember 2022, I went to France on 7th of January, and I came back to Spain on 20th December. I've been like almost 12 months in France, and France never claimed me to pay taxes in France. I guess because it's the European Union. And at the moment, my projects are self-employed, they are in Ireland, so I'm working in Ireland. And Ireland is not claiming my taxes to Spain. I'm still paying my taxes in Spain. So my question is, imagine if eventually, when I move my residence from Europe, Spain in my case, to here to Paraguay, if Ireland or wherever I will be working in the future, ask me something like, hey, you are working here, you need to pay here because you are staying more than 6 months and 1 day. I was only that maybe I have the gold package, so maybe you can help me to justify that I'm currently living in Paraguay. I have my cell phone here, I have my lights, my water, everything, like with the gold package. Do you help me to justify that I'm actually living in Paraguay and stuff?
So the only thing you can never pretend is how much time you have spent in Paraguay. Okay, so if there is a electronic registry at the airport, they know every time you get in and get out. And that flows through a document called Registro Migratorio, in which there is a full list of dates of getting in and getting out. Okay, so you cannot pretend you were in Paraguay for 6 months if in those 6 months you were not in Paraguay. Also because the Interpol system that has data from everywhere. So for those of you that, like me, have a hard time to sleep at night, I watch those programs in which people get stopped at the airport and they're like, come for a police control, you know. Those are all triggered, and I realized it watching this program, because your flight data is shared through the police of the whole world. So you can never catch a flight without everyone else knowing it, right? So because of this, the time you spend in Paraguay will always be the time you spend in Paraguay. Now, having your center of interest in Paraguay, meaning showing that Paraguay is actually the country to which you have the most amount of economic ties, that, of course, is the case. Because we have the proof of address service, the accounting, with the tax payments, with the tax residency certificate, tax compliance certificate. We have the investment opportunities in real estate if you want to show that you're actually doing economic activity in Paraguay, investing, making money, paying taxes, because those are taxed on the profits you make on the operation. Once you open the bank account at Bueno, you can invest in bonds. Once you sell the bond, you cash the profits, the interest, etc. You pay taxes on it. So the most amount of ties you can create, the better. We can also keep a SIM card activated. There's our associate Martin, who has a service called Paraguay SMS that just does that pretty much. So you will have a permanent phone here connected to the network, and all the SMSs will be forwarded straight to your inbox. The only thing you can never pretend is, and we can also help you out with the driving license, etc. But the only thing you will never actually be able to pretend is that you spent more time in Paraguay than you actually spent. When you say also that you're in one country and that country is not claiming you as a tax resident for that year, there is a series of laws in Europe that never really got respected. And it makes it so that people get away with it until they don't. So in Europe, it technically works like this. If you stay more than 90 days in 1 year in a certain other Schengen country, you should register. So go to the local police and say, hello, I'm here. And they will give you a tax number, which is the NIE in Spain, it's the NIF in Portugal, everyone has got their own. And technically, you are supposed to report the income to that country if you spend more than 183 days per year in that country. Do people do that? Not really. Not really. But it happened, for instance, 3 years ago, there was a big scandal, like a lot of Italian retirees moved to the Canary Islands, never registered with Spain, and one day Spain claimed taxes to all of them, at once. Like in a month, 25,000 people got notified. I think it's really rare that it happens in Europe, but are you in breach of the law if you stay the whole year in Ireland and never say anything? Yes. Will they say something? Not necessarily.
Yeah, for example, in my case, I've been living in Ireland on a permanent basis because I'm working there since summer 24. And I don't have my RUC, my Irish RUC. In fact, because, for example, my contractor is a huge company that is settled all around the world. And the company that pays me, it's British, it's from UK. So I don't appear in any paper in Ireland. I just live in there, I rent my house and stuff, but I don't appear like, I don't have the RUC, the Irish RUC. So I don't have ties with Ireland, and they never claim me because I don't appear there in the papers. I'm just working for a company as self-employed, and that company is not Irish, it's like worldwide. So I guess that nothing would happen, and even when I move here, it will remain the same. Mm-hmm. But I was wondering, just in case, and that what you talk about not pretending that you've been here in Paraguay before, or the amount of time you are spending here in Paraguay, that's why maybe Paraguay is one of the most attractive countries, because, for example, if I'm not mistaken, Dubai and Cyprus requires you 3 months there, but Paraguay just coming here once a year, it's enough, right?
Yeah, actually once a year to maintain your residency, not even for tax reasons, and during your temporary residency only, because after permanent residency, you can come once every 3 years. Cyprus is never 90 days. The rules to get 90 days are insane. Everybody is attracted by that claim, but when they understand what are the rules to be there, it's 183. If you can claim 90, it's because you have you're the director of a company, you're paying yourself, you're paying social security, you're spending a lot of money to maintain this. Dubai now also has the same 90-day rule, other than people having the gold visa, and they are changing it again. So Andorra now last week has raised the residency request to $800,000 plus invested, plus $50,000 paid one fee only, and then another $350,000 at least in real estate. So it's 1.2 million to get Andorra residency now. While Paraguay has kept everything very open, no need to stay, etc. But that means that if you are a tax resident of no other country, you can keep being a tax resident of Paraguay, very legitimately, transparently, not breaching anything at all. So one can live 3 months. As you were saying, nomadic people living here, living there, absolutely. If you're staying in the whole year in one single other country, that means you're breaching that other country's rules. Depending on, as you were saying, the amount of ties, the amount of visibility you have, the amount of money you're moving, this will get you on the radar or not. For Europe, it's very hard to track these things because a lot of people, they don't know. They just simply don't know. It's full of guys.
If you have your account in Wyoming or Delaware, it's just hidden from Europe. So,
it's complicated to track you down, yeah.
Okay, thank you for your answers. I'm sorry for keeping this time.
Very good questions, man.
I have a quick question. When does like the countdown start for the 2 years TR?
It's so when we were talking about this residency card, okay, the yellow residency card, that has got an issue date. You can find it on the card itself, and the timer starts at that issuance date. Then, for the conversion, you can apply at the earliest 3 months prior to its expiration, and at the latest 30 days after its expiration. It's actually expressed in days in both cases. So 90 days before, up to 30 days after.
Do you mean for 3 years, right?
Yes, yes. So let's make an example. It's gonna be even better. I get my residency card on the 1st of June 2025. I will be able to convert between the 1st of March 2027 and the 1st of July 2027.
About documents that you said that the bank will ask every year. Let's say a person opened an LLC with Italian documents and then moved to Panama, but want to keep the LLC banks opened. That person can just give to the banks the previous Italian address even if he has residency in Panama, just to keep the accounts open.
What prevents you from moving the address to the correct place? Would the bank shut down the account?
For example, Mercury will leave the accounts open, but Revolut business-wise will shut down.
Yes.
If you tell them that you moved to Panama. I ask this question because similar to the other guy, I already operate through an LLC, which is not in my name, okay? And so I will open another LLC in my name, but I want to keep the things separated. So this old LLC will remain the operative one with as much bank accounts as possible, because fintechs
Of course.
should die now. And I already have experience with Rely that shut an account from one day to the next day, okay, after years. So never a problem for us to think they shut it down. So I like to have a lot of backups for the operative one. Then I want to have an LLC which is simply to a bridge to the operative one to my personal bank accounts. So this new one will be the bridge, which I don't know, which I can open just Mercury and will be okay. But for the operative one, which is not my name, this one I want to keep as much possible accounts as
Yeah, no, you can. I mean, if you don't change the address, generally it's like this. Revolut will not really care much at all whatsoever. Revolut is the chillest bank ever on that side, and on many other sides, it's extremely unlikely that Revolut will say, "Nah, we detected this suspicious activity. You're never using your card in the country you said you live into." No. Wise will. At some point, yeah, Wise will.
They will accept you to change your address.
No. Revolut and Wise do not accept
why I
residency.
Revolut will not.
Wise also will not. But the difference is that Revolut will not really care much. Wise, at some point, it may not be immediately, but they see where you use the card, where do you log in from.
That's why I'm not using a card. I didn't even request a card for Wise. I just use Wise to get the payments from Europe, from customers in Europe. Then I move to Revolut, because Revolut, if you open it to an LLC, you don't have an IBAN, which you have with Wise. But Wise, yes, it's like fragile.
Yeah.
So you have to we use it just for the essential things. You have to understand these things when you operate with banks,
Yeah.
because this bank is good for this bank is good for this.
Exactly. No, but yeah, you can rely. Revolut is probably going to stay. If you need a European IBAN for your LLC, also try out OneSafe, try out AirWallex, try out Jeeves. I don't recall if AgliCash Business does give you a SEPA account, so one with an IBAN. But at least those three, you should definitely try because they work very well. They give you the address and work very, very well.
Anyway, for the older LLC, I can leave you think I can keep with the Italian address? And if I do, the banks will communicate with Italian.
It's unlikely. So it's unlikely that a bank for the LLC goes to Italy and says, hey, is the beneficial owner really residing in Italy? No, he is registered into the IRE. Then we will shut down his account. Talking with authorities for an LLC account is unlikely. Wise, for instance, uses totally other systems. Where you log in from, the IP, the connection you're logging into. If you use a VPN, they're just suspicious from the get-go because they know. Where you use the card, as we were saying, just a lot of things. So generally speaking, Wise relies on other means to verify where you're actually staying. Revolut does not. And Revolut never, like I've met people who moved a lot of money here for many years with their German, Austrian, Dutch address on Revolut. I don't like to do that because I want to have a neat situation in which everything is fine and I don't miss it. This is the other thing. Like when you restructure your setup a little bit, you can find banks that will do exactly all that you need, all the benefits that you were getting from those banks, but without the need to lie about your address. So, yeah, I know it's good to have as many as possible, but I think you can still get a lot without this need to lie about your address. My opinion.
Yes, but this is only for now, so I try to think in the future. And since 2 years ago there were no problems with Wise, now I have two friends. One friend have more than $100,000 blocked in Wise since 6 months, and another the double, and they are brothers. So they shut down their accounts, and they can't even bring out.
Yeah. When it comes to Wise, just beware. It's going to happen at some point.
But Wise had no problems since 1 year ago. And it's
No, it started a bit earlier with that. It started 3 years ago to have serious issues with Wise. Yes. Revolut though is bigger than Wise. Revolut is bigger than Wise as a bank.
Yes.
They're already listed on the London stock market, etc. And
I think it gives you the time to withdraw the money.
yeah, the Wise generally is a bit more flexible with that. Like this case, for instance, is more tricky because generally they give you some time to withdraw the money. But sometimes if they fear it's really bad activity, they don't. But I would say it's a wheel. There's always new banks that are upcoming, and those will be chilled, relaxed. They will not try to run.
It's in with Meru that you were recommending it until 1 week ago, and now you have problems with Meru.
Meru is not like that. Meru hasn't followed this same logic that we're describing. The logic I'm describing is when a bank is newly born, they accept everybody, anything, anytime. When they grow and scale and get close to listing on the stock market, they become way more wary of who their clients are. What happened with Meru is that they never picked up enough space in the market. And what I fear is that they are out of money, not close to the stock exchange, mostly close to bankruptcy.
Can I just say something about Revolut? Because the problem if you were, I don't know, Spain or Czech, Revolut, by the law, they will transfer the data, the money that you put in Revolut.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
You can use mine.
You have a regulated account, okay?
Business, yes.
Okay, wherever you were based before,
Yes.
your tax, wherever, even if it doesn't happen, and it does happen, they will report you, they will say how much money you have made to your government. I don't know if the government will read that, but they will know how much money you made. So if you're not resident anymore over there, my friend, it happened to him last year, they will write you an email, oh, you're still making revenue, how come you have to register? They will want to investigate. So if you don't want any investigation, that's why it's better to get out.
Yeah, this is also much worse now. This is much worse now. I don't know if I promise I will stand again soon, but battery was running. Yeah, no. But there is this new regulation, the DAC8, for those who have watched this video, that enforces sharing of data. Enforces, it's not based on requests anymore, between financial institutions across Europe. And that changes what we know so far. Changes the situation of a person who is, was able to stay in a certain country without telling the other, and so on and so forth. And like the thing that I really got worried for, a bit still worried, but for a different reason, is that it wasn't supposed to cause issues if you were not a resident of the European Union. And so I thought that Bybit, for instance, would leave me alone because I'm not a resident of the European Union, neither on the official Italian government, nor on Bybit. But it still got to me via a different route. We received a payment on Sunday from a German client. And that caused immediate suspension of my Bybit account. He was paying for him, his wife, and daughter, so it was like around $7,000, right? And the thing that happened is this. Bybit doesn't need things because of me, needs things because of him. And they started asking me a lot of things that are generally normal. Bank account statements, source of funds. I understand that. But then they started asking me things that don't make any sense. Like, what's the source of funds of the client? The fuck I know, man. I'm not a bank. I'm not supposed to ask. Like, when I go to the restaurant, the waiter doesn't go like, yeah, before paying, like, how did you make the money? That's not...
The same thing happened to me some months ago with a payment of a customer of like $1,000 on Wise. It was the only time that Wise asked me the same thing, the power of the funds of who is sending you this money. I just rejected the payment and sent it to the customer and told him I don't want your money just because I'm more scared to have problems with my setup and with my banks, especially with Wise, because it is the best, and Wise it is the best until shut down.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to don't have problems with banks, because even if I hate it, we need banks. Okay. So I want to farm as much as possible in the good way that the banks like. So I just sent back the money and didn't even answer to the question of that Wise asked me to follow.
Yeah. No, it's weird. Just know that, as he was saying, there's gonna be more sharing of information across European jurisdictions, and that is gonna now be across the board. Crypto exchanges, brokerages, bank accounts, fintechs. Before, the amount of even opening Lithuanian, those classic banks, the fintechs that are based in Lithuania, you would expect that before the communication between Italy or France and Lithuania would be very efficient, but it wasn't. Every country had their own forms, their own regulation, and each country could ask a report about you to the other one, but if they didn't, it wasn't a problem. Well, now this information is shared automatically at the end of the year. And this will probably cause differences between what we were used to seeing and what we will see going down the line. In fact, I had never seen anything like this before, but it's evident that they knew my client was from the European Union, and they wanted to start asking everything. And I replied 24 hours later. They told me they needed more documents. I sent them more documents. 24 hours later, they needed the final document. I sent the final document. And now I'm waiting since yesterday at 8 p.m. And they say it's going to be like around 48 hours before they get in touch. So, yeah, we can feel just 20 days into 2026 that the new DAC8 is already taking, it's showing its effects. It's not one of those regulations that just are there. It's really enforced. So, yeah, just be aware of that.
Can we say, like, as a rule of thumb, we should move our coordinates to Paraguayan address? So for different banks to have all bank accounts with Paraguayan addresses now?
Yeah.
That's the rule of thumb, let's say, the suggested way to move.
Yeah, if you want to have everything transparent and easy and never worry about the fact that your account is uncompliant and you always feel like it may get closed anytime, just have everything to your Paraguayan address where you have your tax residency and where you have your tax certificates and where you basically have what they need, which is your address for tax purposes.
So you did so with your Italian account, let's say?
Sorry?
You did so with your Italian account?
I did so with my Italian account and with all the other accounts.
Okay.
There is no account that I use, either for the company or myself, in which there is not the Paraguayan address. Now, it happens that in the beginning, I was using my genuine Paraguayan address and then realized that in life, you tend to rent an apartment now here and one there. So I became a client of our proof of address service, even though I live in Paraguay, because the reality is that every day, like every year, I would change apartment. It was just insane to go and remember like all the accounts in which I had that old address and change and show. So I started using our addresses for my own accounts as well, because it was just too much.
So why don't you use a personal? Do you have any investment in real estate?
Yeah. Yeah, I have personal accounts here in Paraguay. I have personal accounts abroad. I have accounts for the LLC abroad. I have accounts for the EAS in Paraguay. Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of AML, what's the best way to justify the source of income if you're coming from crypto, for example, or LLC invoices?
And this is a good question and also a tricky one, because you have two routes. Route one, invoicing the company. So for an LLC, if you wanted to tell the local bank, because if it's an international bank, you can say, the LLC is mine, and you show the certificate of incumbency. If you guys do not have a certificate of incumbency for your LLC, I really recommend you ask and you apply for one. It's a document that can be signed by a notary or a CPA in the US, and it's got the list of all the owners of the company and their share in the company. And that is the best document you can provide to show that the company is genuinely a single member entity that is only yours. Every time you pay yourself, leave a document trace behind, okay? So basically, even just a normal PDF that has the information of your company, the information about yourself, the amount you're paying, the date, and the account you're paying into. That is in any crypto exchange, investment brokerage, in any bank account abroad, valid proof of funds. In Paraguay, they're gonna have none of that, okay? So here you either invoice your LLC every month, and that means you localize the income, make it tax liable, and then you can deposit into the bank. Or the other thing you can do is to basically use the income to invest in something or to buy something that you can sell locally. So this is why we often say that real estate is the most efficient way to operate, because you can invest in crypto from an LLC, wherever the case may be. All of that is going to be turned into cash that goes into the real estate, right? The house gets built, the house gets sold, you make money on top of it. That money pays for the taxes of the transaction and more. You have profit. All the cost it took to build a house becomes tax deductible for you because you get the invoice from the developer. And that means you have, over the course of 6 months, built and sold, you have now proof of funds for a significant amount. You have tax deductions for a significant amount as well, because the construction is generally 65% of the value of the house, at least in our projects, right? And that means you have pretty much got all the benefits. You were able to localize the income while making money, and yeah, it got taxed, but on the profit you made on the transaction. So I don't see it as tax, I just see it as a lower profit in a certain sense. And that is the most efficient way, broadly speaking, but it's almost the only way if it's crypto. Because you cannot, like in one case, the LLC, you can invoice the LLC and go that route. But if it's crypto, localizing that would be insanely difficult, because you would have the full trace, and generally Paraguayan banks don't want to even hear about crypto, but let's say that they're open to. What they would ask is, show us how you made money, show us the bank statements in which you got paid. Say you were employed, or you had your LLC, you were paying yourself. Okay. Show us the payment slips, show us the bank account statements showing you actually got paid, and then show us you invested the money in crypto, show us you have divested the money, you have sold, and then show us that you banked it somewhere. All of these apostilled and translated. It's gonna be impossible. It's just and one document missing to break the chain breaks the whole sense of it. So really, that is what I described before is really the only route. Now you have other routes which are based on the same logic, which is use foreign income to buy something here, sell it here, and then you can say I sold something and the bank will take it. The problem is, if you buy, let's say, a used car, okay, by the time you sell it, it's going to depreciate. You're going to be liable if the car has problems, and so on and so forth. If you do it with watches, in Paraguay, there is not such a wide market, secondary market for watches. If you do it with anything else, it's just going to be too much effort, because what is the next most worthy thing that has a liquid market? Like iPhones? You should buy, 1,000 iPhones. It's just a lot of iPhones you'd have to flip to be able to bring $100,000 here, showing that you have sold iPhones. So everything that has a liquid market, meaning houses, gold, etc., is a good choice. Gold, we don't have intermediaries that have tight spreads. That is why gold isn't really a big deal, a big option. And the houses have one big benefit, that while they get built, you buy a plot of land and you receive a construction service. The construction service is actually a cost for you that you will be able to deduct from the ERP and from the IVA, indeed. But when you sell the house, you sell it as a house. And that is completely separate tax treatment, in which you will pay 2.4% of the value of the house. So if you're making 13%, 14%, 15% minus that 2.4%, you're better off than before. The time it took to localize the money got paid for by the profit of the operation. You can show extra ties to Paraguay because you have invested in a house and sold it. So you reap off many benefits: tax ties, movement of bank accounts, origin of funds. And in one only transaction, the bare minimum is $70,000, $80,000 that you will be able to sell for, up until the sky is the limit, because you can build bigger houses or more houses. So that is simply more efficient.
Okay, thank you. So, I have my savings in European banks, let's say. Is everything completely right? This is what I was saving during the years. If I want to localize that, what would be the local transfer?
The origin of money, so whether it is employment income, business income, just documents about that, apostille translated, tax returns, apostille translated, and then you can localize it. So see the problem, it's not it's not like Paraguay as an anti-money laundering policy that is made to prevent money laundering. It's made to prevent everything. Because it's just like the only case in which it's really easy is if you have sold a car or real estate abroad. That is easy because you will have one contract, you apostille that. Even then, because I did it for myself, it cost $500 to do the whole process. Because do the apostilles, do this one translation of a contract, it's like $20 per page. By the way, if anyone needs English sworn translations, now finally, after years of research that triggered a lot of happiness at the office, we were able to hire a sworn translator, but he's sworn translator for English, right? So, apostilles in Italy, that takes a month and a half to get the appointment for. Pay for the marca da bollo. It's good that you guys don't know what it is because and then pay for the translator here. Then the bank account statement showing where the money landed from the payment of the house, translated apostille. And then I was able to move the funds to Paraguay. Compared to other stuff, it's not as evil. But it's not that efficient either, you know? And the documents have to then arrive here physically. So there is the DHL fee as well.
Okay, uncomfortable question probably. Yeah, because it's cutting a bit the very enthusiastic moment that we are having, but if we have any kind of strategy to move out from Paraguay, let's say in years, do you have any kind of suggestions, strategy?
No, it's really easy. Like as you moved out from your country of origin, you know, the same thing happens here. So you basically have to just get residency somewhere else and move your tax residency there. Now in Paraguay, you can also renounce your residency. It's pointless because you can just have it. Well, first of all, it costs money to renounce your residency. It's like 2.5 million guaranis. So you can just let it expire if you don't use it. It's not a big deal. Or you can even keep it as a plan B by just visiting once every 3 years. So at the end of the day, it would be kind of stupid to lose your residency. But with this said, you just cancel your RUC, so you're no longer a tax resident, and that's it. Then the residency and the cedula, you decide if you want to keep it in the back pocket, keep renewing it every 10 years, or if you just want to drop it all together, you just let it expire, and it's easier. You don't even have to come back to renounce.
Yeah, but how to justify the source of income? Let's say I come from Italy, and I have already my income in Italy, now I'm moving to Paraguay, next I will move somewhere else. So
Well, in Paraguay, you will have a very clean record because what happens here is that every month we file for the IVA, but that is kind of pointless, right? At least in terms of source of funds. At the end of the year, we can make a report about all your foreign income as well, have it notarized and apostilled, okay? And so that every year adds to your tax filings. And so you can show what money you've made from where and how much, right? So you have a clean history that already comes with the apostilles as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, so also localizing, let's say, the money can help you, let's say, clean the records or make everything clearer.
Absolutely. The reality is that it depends a lot on where you plan to live. If you plan to live in Paraguay, localizing your income is absolutely the best choice. because you may not notice it now, but you will start to live a proper life. You know, when a person is just arrived, they live the first weeks as tourists, the first months as nomads, and then they start to say things like, I'd like to buy a car, or to get a mortgage to invest with leverage in real estate, or I would like to set up a business. And all those things come with the requirement to show EVA tax returns to be able to open bank accounts, to get credit cards, to get financing. The better your EVAs, the better your bank account will be. You get private banking, you get discounts with your credit cards at all the restaurants, all the shops, all the gyms. It makes your life way more comfortable. And today, for instance, Itaú decided to lower the interest rate on the loan of the company car, one of the two cars. You have the Visa Infinite card, etc. So it just makes you part of the local financial system and be able to perform things. Or you can rent, if you rent a place and you have had the cedula for a certain amount of time, they're gonna ask for you 6 months of EVA tax returns. And if you haven't got much to show on your tax returns, they're gonna say, nah, you're not liquid enough, you're not solvent. But if you have very solid EVAs, they will be more than happy to let you pay month by month. But if you don't have solid EVAs, they will need you to pay the whole year up front. So it feels like if you have strong EVAs, you have this very, good credential to show anytime you are dealing with a financial problem in Paraguay. But if you don't, you're cut out and you're kind of a pariah of the financial system. And that creates a lot of discomfort for someone who really wants to have their roots here. For someone who's traveling the world as a digital nomad, none of this makes sense and none of this is important.
Yeah, but let's say if you're working with crypto, all the earnings you have or the yield that you're having, you're doing DeFi or staking. How do you utilize that income somehow? How do you defend that if you're using the DEX? How do you defend that?
As I said, use that, turn it into something else that can be declared. Because in Paraguay, you can't be taxed on crypto. You can't, say, oh, I made this amount on crypto, please tax me. You can't, so far. I will admit my guilt because in December, I have a local profile on Instagram, right? And I'm quite well known by the locals. And the president of the Paraguayan blockchain chamber, which is ruled by the government as an official institution, got in touch with me. And I said, I have to reply to this guy, and then forgot ever since. Because it would be kind of nice to discuss this problem. But in Paraguay, you can't. So the only thing you can do, if you want to localize the income, is turn the income into something else. And we have proven this very solidly with the real estate, which is something that on Friday, to all those who are interested, we're going to have the tour. So if you want to come and see, of course, for those who have their money on the line, and for those who don't, it's going to be very interesting because you'll see what goes on there. But the reality is that it's been the most proven method for things to happen, both in terms of being paid for the time it takes to actually localize your income, making your tax returns more solid, being able to do it for larger sums. And we do it as good guys, everyone in this room and everyone we have as a client. But it's the opposite of what I said before is also true, right? The anti-money laundering system in Paraguay is stupid because it blocks all money. But it's also true that narcos can also do the real estate investments, and they do. And they do. And so it creates this weird melting pot in which perfectly legal, transparent income and completely illegal income still have to go through the same process before they can be actually localized. It's what it is, but at the end of the day, you just learn the rules and play by the game.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hello. Okay, so I want to ask a question about Meru. I think you mentioned something about that before, but just want to make sure. So let's say that for someone who is receiving who have clients in Europe and and want to pay in Paraguayan account, is it still recommended to use Meru as a bridge for that?
The reality is that I will get you a better answer once I try this WENO service they just launched. Because at the end of the day, what was being done before was send the money to Meru so that Meru can send it to your local bank account. And serendipity thing that 2 days after I complain about Meru, WENO launches this new service which looks extremely promising, in which you just need one app, only WENO. And you can recharge it with a card from anywhere, straight from there. I also think they launched it because you can see queues of foreigners at their ATMs withdrawing like insane amounts of money and then re-putting it back into the ATM just in their local account. So at some point they also said like, yeah, do something about that. And the first thing they did about that was to lower the amount that you can withdraw per transaction so that they could charge you more. But now they came out with this new solution, and it's a great thing for us as well because Mauri from the accounting team was here, I guess. And like, there's a lot of pain involved sometimes in telling clients, please download these. You have two ways to do it, okay? If you have to pay your IVA, you have two choices. The first choice is you pay yourself. The second choice is you tell us to pay for you, okay? In that case, you will see, guys, on the new accounting platform that is really cool. You send a certain amount of money, it gets converted to credits you have in Guarani. Every month we pay taxes for you, your credit drops, okay, automatically. But because it's a lot of pain on our side to receive a lot of small payments, it's undoable. So we set a limit of at least $300 so that we convert it once, deposit it once, and then if you're declaring a minimum salary, you have like 8 months, 9 months, 10 months of prepaid taxes, right, in your balance. The advantage of paying it yourself is, well, the exchange rate is going to be better because the exchange rate we have to give has to consider all the fees to convert from crypto. All the pain in the ass for us to be able to put those funds into a bank account, and the fact that we manually have to pay your taxes every month, which takes someone's time. So the exchange rate that you get today, if you want us to pay your taxes, is 6,000, which is, of course, because the rest is not a Forex fee, but it's like you have to do the work fee, right? Getting that somehow here and using that to pay your taxes and paying, etc. So I would suggest to do it through WENO. And yeah, let's see, like, if the storm passes, because I am redoing all the operations of the company, the new office, etc. I think Saturday, when I'm more relaxed, I'm gonna use this new WENO feature and let you guys know if it works as it says.
Definitely, that would be awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I just ask quickly, just related to that? If you were, we based the recommendations, obviously we said, right, what are the options to get money out of the UK, and use traveling cash, and use Meru? You're saying now, potentially as an issue getting money out of Meru. Does that apply purely to card usage or withdrawal to Paraguay bank accounts? Or, you know, I see they've got a feature, for example, to withdraw to stablecoin, USDT or something like that.
Yeah,
if you do that withdrawal, would you be able to take sizable amounts out?
What I was trying to do here is Mauri from the accounting team. He's the guy converting your Guarani at 6,000. No, the reality is that I tried to use a stable coin withdrawal, that caused the issue. When the issue was there, I tried everything else, and it was also blocked. Maybe there's a chance that problem wouldn't have appeared in the first place if I wasn't doing a stablecoin withdrawal. I don't think so. Because they didn't say we need documents or we need these or that. No, they just said, hey, you're blocked. No explanations, no request for anything. And then after I started like being annoying on social media, they, sure enough, because I know how this works. It's like, you know, a client, like someone forgot to do one thing for a client, and the client goes like super mad, and the guys go to their manager and like, what do they do? And the manager is like, offer him something, you know, in return, just send him some present or whatever. And so that must have happened the exact same way inside their company. They're going to be like, oh, this guy's running around saying shit about us. And sure enough, the compliance manager was like, unlock the funds for that guy. It was $4,700. It wasn't probably what would have bankrupted them, but my bad advertising would have affected more funds, I guess. So,
Quite sizable something. So I'm somewhat concerned. We've got 2 accounts.
okay.
And it's sizable. It's not 5,000, it's approaching 100. So it's what do we do together? Sorry, I'm hijacking the
Okay.
meeting, but yes. It's looking at what the options are and how.
Okay, looking at the options, I would say that your best option, well, I would say learn from my mistake and don't do stable coins withdrawals for amounts that are considerable, because it may be that they have seen the crypto as more of, like, what they really didn't like about the whole situation is them telling me, yeah, yesterday we were experiencing a bug. And, oh, look, like, so curiously this bug got solved after I shit posted about them, you know? And, like, I smelled burnt right there. So I would say if there's a chance it wasn't a liquidity issue, but a proper concern they had, don't do stablecoin withdrawals, because apparently it's more likely to trigger that. And don't send the money out all at once. Sure, certainly. Maybe small transfers, 2K to 3K regularly. SEPA or ACH, I guess, it's what they will enjoy the most. Or withdrawal to Paraguay. I think there is a chance that, because the people that I spoke with that had the least amount of problems were the ones who were just using the withdrawal to Paraguay feature. Because they don't serve it in-house. They have a different partner called dLocal, which is a company that takes care of that service. So probably they haven't broken that link, and that link still works, while they do operate their own blockchain ecosystem to handle all the stable coins. So maybe if you withdraw to Paraguay at chunks at a time, they won't be triggered so much. Yeah, let me know how it evolves. But the thing is, like, since it's a significant amount, if it happens to you, send me screenshots. I'll go back at shit posting about them. Apparently that's what they care the most about.
I just found your post through AI going, oh yeah, a user in Paraguay really complained about this, blah, blah, blah. I know they use that.
Yeah, no, the lucky thing is that I used to have a much larger position, but I had already started phasing it out. It was the moment I tried to go to zero that they didn't like it. So maybe you get the same thing.
Small increments.
Yeah. Let me know how it goes.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, going back to the investing in real estate conversation, I've seen that I don't know if it's this president or if it was said already before, the Shirogapura
Mhm.
situation. I didn't really understand if that only applied to Paraguayans or if it also applied to people like that have a cedula.
This is a good question because it should serve everyone, including foreigners with cedula. Okay. And I have actually always seen this question, let's say, from the other side. So generally, the foreigners are the ones that intend to use Shirogapura as a mean to sell real estate more than to acquire real estate. And it happened to me selling the house. Okay, for those of you who don't know, surely this is quite interesting, especially for those who are considering investing in Paraguay. There was, when the president got elected, he came with this idea of Shirogapura, which was a very convenient mortgage for your first house. That didn't work at all. There were a lot of issues. And it was his big broken promise, right? Because he kept a lot of the other promises. So back in, was it September? No, November last year, Shirogapura 2.0 came out. And this works very well. So up to 605 million guaranis, which is give or take $90,000, you can buy a house with a very low interest rate, which is a 6.5% interest rate. You can finance up to 100% of the value of the property you're purchasing up to 30 years. The previous rate you would get would be 10.4%. So that reduces the installments, for instance, on the house we sold in Luque, by 40%. It also caused the installments to get just the same amount, pretty much, as you would pay in rent. And so for the first time, a lot of people who were paying rent are turning into buyers. And it's very convenient that that happened like after we launched the real estate project that we intended to sell at 550 million guaranis, which is perfect because even though the top is 605, the real top is 585 because 20 million guaranis will be the notary fee, the bank fee, and I have still here so I know to get paid 590, the bank had to 585. It's funny because a lot of people know I'm at the Q&A, but they take advantage of the situation to ask me for important immediate things. So to get 590 million point 600,000 guaranis, basically the bank has paid out 608.8 million, out of which 605 fell under Shirogapura. The administrative costs were 10 million, the escribania, which is the notary, 1.5 million, and the honorarios fiduciarios, which is like the bank saying, we're gonna just take some money because we did the whole paperwork, were 6.696 million guaranis, so almost $1,000. And then there was the transferencia, which is moneda más, moneda menos, 40 million guaranis. So at the end of the day, what sticks to you is 580 million guaranis. Which means we're very lucky that we projected that other real estate investment to be sold at 550 because it will fall straight under it. And this is unlocking around 2 million buyers that fall within this range of between 2 and 6 minimum salaries a month that for the first time are eligible for credit on a house. And it's really a good moment to take advantage of that. I know, for instance, Paraguayans residing abroad can access. And there should be no restrictions whatsoever about foreigners with cedulas accessing either. And for those of you who see it from the other side, which is the investor side, it's very good because it recently unlocked a huge amount of demand while the supply is not there. So, pretty cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, and thank you for these events and your YouTube channel. You're doing God's work. It's amazing.
Thanks.
Back to the beginning, can you give a little bit more context on the cedula delays? I'm Canadian and I had my first meeting today at the office. Am I relevant?
Nick. Nick, tu hai la lista delle nazionalità per caso che sono uscite oggi? We'll solve this riddle because I didn't memorize all the nationalities that got out. Ok, grazie. Dei latinoamericani.
No, sono 4 italiani.
Ah, okay. So today we collected out, 6 from Brazil, but 5 from Italy, 3 from Spain, 2 from Australia, 2 from New Zealand, 1 from Bulgaria, 1 from Canada, 1 from Costa Rica, 1 USA, 1 France. Ah, but he doesn't know. He was here. Don't tell him. When he comes back, don't tell him. The guy was sitting here before. Don't tell him. Okay. Yeah, he thinks it's gonna take 2 years now. Everyone doesn't tell him, okay? I'm sure it's him.
I think that he applied in 1997.
One UK, 1 Romania, 1 Russia, 1 South Africa, 1 Switzerland. So the most common nationalities that we have clients from that I don't see on the list, I don't see Germany, I don't see Belgium, I don't see Netherlands. But if you're from the countries that I mentioned, be happy. Yeah, it's fine.
A couple more questions. These kind of smaller banks that I'm hearing folks talking about, the Wise, the Revolut, what kind of money are people moving through there? Like, I assume they're not valid for bigger amounts. Is that correct?
Look, there is what you should do and there is what people do. And the reality is that I know multiple people, and I know some people inside this room, use Wise, Revolut, Mercury, etc. for very significant amounts. It's not recommended because
Put a number range on that. What do you mean by
above $500,000.
Okay.
Okay. To me, like the biggest account I keep is Mercury, and now I'm switching to OneSafe. But OneSafe is different. Like the CEO is a personal friend. So.
Is a person of what?
Friend.
Okay.
So we get away with anything, anytime, and I suggest you guys open it because if our clients have any issue, we just use the same leverage to solve the problem.
What's the name?
OneSafe. OneSafe.
One
Like one, the number one, safe, like it's safe.
Yeah.
.io.
And that works with these US LLCs?
Yes, absolutely. It works with companies from all over the world, including Paraguayan companies. It gives you European, US coordinates and crypto, on-ramps and off-ramps. So very convenient, right? Now, a note on that. I don't trust generally any fintech, and my biggest account is Mercury, that I'm now switching to being OneSafe with 50K. And that is the cash flow the company needs to make sure that on the 5th of the following month, we can pay the salaries, the big boom that we get at the beginning of the month. That's it, right? So I just don't like to keep assets in banks, whether it's stocks, crypto, bonds, or investments in real estate, local companies. My business partner in the gym is gonna arrive soon, and he's gonna bring Dino from Greece, who preceded me. He's a business partner in a gym they have already owned for quite a lot of time. And Dino wants to purchase a part of my shareholding into this new gym and be partners. And I just prefer to have my money here, where I kind of, I have a safety net in Paraguay, I can say. And possibly in stuff that's not banks, like enterprises, companies, investments, houses, things that, you don't go back to a house and when you open the door, it's like, oh, sorry, you got banned. So that's personal philosophies right there.
So that brings me to the next question. How are people investing, whether crypto or regular classic stocks, with these LLCs? My question comes from the perspective of in Canada, it's quite hard to get on an exchange as an LLC, as a company. If they want they want your name. So is it just as easy as that, or you just open an LLC, you get this Revolut?
You can open Coinbase very easily with an LLC. There is no problem in that. Yeah, you can use Coinbase. I think Kraken, some guys are using Kraken as well.
And then when you sell, they're not asking questions because you're like, it's that. How can it be that easy?
Because a single member LLC is disregarded and it's kind of treated as like someone else's problem.
Yeah.
It's really not an issue. Also, you can send any amount of money from a bank account to another LLC. They will be like, fine. But if you send it to a person, then they're going to be asking questions. The LLC you have in the US is very different to their equivalent in the UK, Canada, and so on. So don't think that you can compare US LLCs and Canadian LLCs because they are worlds apart.
So different from some of the people here who are families or are trying to localize. If I'm more just citizen of the world, nomading, you really could get away with the LLC, a good stock exchange or crypto exchange, and your transactions live there. You don't need to figure out more complex ways to do things.
Yeah. But I always suggest still move the funds to you as a person, because ultimately in the US, if they change the legislation about the LLCs, and Trump is both a great strategist and someone who's really hard to predict. So, tomorrow he doesn't like US LLCs and boom, now you're screwed. So I would still keep funds to my name. I mean, liquidity, but also stocks, crypto, etc., instead of in the LLC's name, because at the end of the day, I trust more maybe the fact that me as a person, I'm based in Paraguay and the LLC is based in the US, and US policies are changing fast.
You're suggesting to do it in Paraguayan banks on my personal name.
Yeah, you can do banks from all over the globe. You can have a non-resident bank account in Canada, even though Canada doesn't really love non-resident bank accounts. But you can open things like Sapo, Tower Bank, banks that accept you, Ducascopy, banks that exist physically, but they also onboard you online. You can open HSBC Uruguay, which is a great option because they onboard Paraguayan residents. You have to make a minimum deposit of 50,000 US, but it's great banking. My landlord is Uruguayan. I send their SWIFT transfers from my Italian account. They land like that. No questions asked on the Italian side, which generally they ask questions every time. With Uruguayan even, they're fine. Uruguayan bank account. So you have multiple situations across the globe where you can settle your personal banking, be it Paraguay, be it Uruguay, which I would recommend, be it Switzerland, be it the United States, opening a Chase account in the US, etc. But these, the more you live in Latin America, by the way, the more you get your color for things. And here there are companies advertising all over Instagram, all over TikTok. We will help you open your US LLC, your US LLC. Even locals are opening US LLCs for whatever reason. In Argentina, everyone has a US LLC for some reason. So I think at some point they will look at it and be like, what's really going on with this? The cool thing is that being the US, no one can bully them and be like, oh, no, people are not paying taxes because of you. They're going to be like, what are you going to do about it? So, but I don't feel like very confident having money in a structure that is great now, but can be changed like that.
Yeah, and to open these more secure personal bank accounts, are you usually doing that when you get the residential card post, like 2 months after the ROC, or do they let you earlier?
No. You would want to have the cedula and you would want to have a proof of address as well.
Well, the cedula and proof of address is pretty quick. You don't need to wait for the ROC.
Yeah.
You don't need the ROC.
Well, yeah, but at the end of the day, the ROC doesn't come much later than the cedula. Yeah.
It's a couple of months, isn't it?
No.
Okay.
It happened to some of our
Sorry,
clients.
not the ROC. After the ROC, you start showing your taxes, and eventually you can get the
Tax residency certificate, you mean? Okay, no. That is not absolutely necessary for your banking purposes now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I have some questions too.
The online questions.
Freedom Seeker wants to know, is it necessary to have a cedula to obtain the permanent resident, or can temporary residence itself be used to apply for permanent residence?
You need the cedula.
I earn crypto through DeFi projects. What's the best strategy to report it correctly? What exactly do I have to declare? I mean, literally, what do I write on the paper?
In Paraguay, as we were saying before, you cannot declare DeFi incomes as they are on the local income returns. You can declare it in your foreign income. And yeah, that's, if your point is I want to pay taxes on it to localize it and nationalize it and pay local taxes, you can't. So again, either you use the crypto to buy something that you can sell for actually being able to prove it, that you sold it here and pay taxes on what you've sold, or you just declare it as an annex at your IRP. So when you file your personal income tax at the end of the year, in March of the following year, you would file the IRP, write down everything you've earned abroad and how you made it, and declare it as foreign. Yeah.
What's the difference between residency card and the cedula? What can you do with the residency card?
The residency card you use to basically access the country, show that you have a residency permit. You can show it to be basically like, instead of my passport, I'm gonna go around with the residency card. The police stops you, who are you? Boom, residency card, okay? You can do that. But you cannot use it to open a bank account. You cannot use it to open a company, even a simple EAS. You won't get a ROC. So economic activity is what is mainly tied to the cedula, and immigration purposes are mostly tied to your residency card.
Is it true that you need to travel to the US to open a Chase account?
Yes.
How do I file monthly declaration if my source of income is Bitcoin mining?
If you file, you can file zero. You can file zero every month, but that is going to cause a windfall of there's going to be some problems around that when you want to get a tax residency certificate and other, like the annual tax filing, etc. You won't be able to do a lot of things if you only file zero. So the suggestion again is use the Bitcoin to do something you can report.
If I make Paraguay your base, how you legally operate your foreign LLC without establishing a local PE?
As we were saying before, if you work from Paraguay, you are technically establishing a PE, and you shall basically report that income as local. As I also said, 99% of people don't do that, and it's not causing issue, nor it ever caused any issues. But just to be aware of it, the law from 1994, if you check the older tax reform, because we have a newer one that didn't update that part, so that states a foreign company that is working presentially with one or more people in Paraguay has a permanent establishment in Paraguay. It's never been enforced, and they don't care, but you do establish a permanent establishment.
If you buy gold in Paraguay with cash and later choose to sell it, does the sales both count as legal source of income, or the banks would drag the money further back?
No, like you can buy gold locally, sell it locally as proof of income. it's not going to be as easy or cheap as you expect because we don't have a liquid market for gold, and there is no place you can go and trade spot gold, say 5% bid ask spread. You're going to have like 15%. So it's practically a bloodbath.
When it comes to the new rule about checking with the EU policy, not France, Alice said it was 3 months. Is that instead of, in addition to the earlier mentioned 60 days average for the cedula?
No, there was already a 21-day time period calculated for the cedula. So you do the subtraction between the new timeline minus 21, which was the old timeline, and you get the result. But don't listen to what I said for France. Apparently, today we collected a French one. So this is our source who told us about France. Our source is the most trustworthy source you can have about this, okay? Off camera, I have no problems talking about that, 0. But apparently, he or she was wrong.
Can you give us ideas for investment or strategies in Paraguay that will give ground to the fiscal resident without living there?
The end of the sentence again?
Can you give us ideas for investment or strategies in Paraguay that would give ground to the fiscal residency without living there?
There's heaps. There's heaps. You can buy an apartment, rent it out on Airbnb, rent it out for anything. You can buy cars and rent them out to the platform drivers like Uber and Bolt. That is also quite lucrative if you manage it well. One of our drivers, John, is into that business as well. He knows it well. You guys can refer to him for that. Building and flipping real estate, as we were saying before, which is my bread and butter. Also acquiring participations into local companies. I have a big network of local entrepreneurs that I'm interested in investing. Some I did already, some I want to do. There's a lot of smart guys needing money in Paraguay because there is no venture capital or, can I say, even there is no venture capital because the venture capitalists invest because they want to list you on the stock market. We don't even have a proper stock market. So they say the whole finance world is at ground zero in Paraguay. So your money can go a much longer way here because it's a more scarce resource and because the economy is growing more than in other places. So what I plan to do the most in 2026 are investments like I did in the gym. So owning, sharing companies that I can be just an investor into. But for that, you need to know the market. I would say if you're starting out, real estate is the easiest. It's very beginner friendly.
If I can't declare the origin of the crypto because it's complicated to trace it back to the initial transaction, can I still declare it anyway, even if that means I have to pay a penalty or something?
If you're talking declaring it as unimportant foreign income, you can. No one is going to ask for a penalty because no one is going to ask for explanations either way. Like Paraguay doesn't need explanations about things they cannot tax, right? As if you want to report it as local income, as we were saying, you simply cannot. So now, the real deal, in a certain sense, is what are you trying to prove? Are you trying to prove that you have paid taxes on it? Are you trying to prove that it has a clear origin? Or are you trying to prove that you bought that crypto with a clear origin? Like everything, any reply to those questions goes to a different route you have to take, okay? And by itself, you cannot declare crypto in Paraguay and get taxed on it as local income. You simply cannot. There is a circular from the tax authority, but it doesn't really fit our purposes, which says that crypto is treated as a good, okay? So if I acquire crypto, the seller shall put VAT on top of it. And if I buy something with crypto, technically I'm bartering because I'm trading a good for another good. So we shall both put EVA on top of the transaction, and then each of us will be able to deduct it. I never saw that happening ever in Paraguay. But that's like, it's weird, okay? Because it's not treated as an asset that can create a capital gain. So you cannot declare capital gains. You can technically, if you operate as an exchange, yes, you can say and declare, because you have to put EVA on top of it. So you will declare the EVA and the profits you made on the spread. But if you're a trader, that doesn't work. Doesn't work, especially if you use international platforms that will not charge EVA. And the local exchange we were talking about, X4T, does not charge EVA. So it's still the old Wild West when it comes to crypto here. And it's nice because on one side, they leave you alone. And on the other side, reporting is what it is, you know. So you want to appreciate the freedom of that legislation. And, ciao Carla. Hey. And you want to take on the chin the fact that you can't really get taxed on it.
Is it not possible to declare the mine USD value of Bitcoin to demonstrate the source of income?
No. Unfortunately not. That's all from the online friends? Yep. Amazing. Do we have any more questions from the offline world? Cecilia? This is going to be an interesting question because she already knows everything. So. Yeah.
Just wondering, is in connection with this Friday and visits, or is that basically is a new project, or is it project?
I want to go to the project that is already undergoing construction because I promised myself I would visit it 1,000,000 times and then I never did.
Right.
And the reality is that it's been very, very hectic weeks. And this Friday is not going to be an exception, but I want to make time because I can't just kick, the can further too much. I'm really curious to see what's going on. I mean, I get the updates from Diego, but I want to see it with my eyes.
But also the owner back into Paraguay for the new project?
Yeah, I gotta be honest, in the last 2 weeks, since every day it looked like it was the day, I tried to bother Diego as less as possible. And yesterday was the day, so he became a dad for the first time yesterday. And I'm still to meet the baby. I would have wanted to be there. But yeah, I'm giving him a little bit of time to settle things because it must feel quite hectic with the project that is already undergoing and the newborn. But my plan is like in a couple of weeks to 3 weeks, well, starting this Friday, but like slowly rebuilding the pace of work. Yeah, I don't know. I hope it gives me back the same kindness when it's gonna be my turn. It's gonna leave me alone for 2 weeks. So I guess.
Last question, if you like. You were mentioning something about the HSBC in Uruguay.
Mm-hmm.
So is that easy to open an account over there? Or?
So it used to be extremely easy because you would have a video call with one of their bankers. It would check all your documents while you were doing the video call, and we would commit to the $50,000 deposit, and it would, boom, process it in 24 hours.
Because I have an HSBC account, and I was in Jersey or the Isle of Man.
Yeah. Technically, if you have Premier status, you carry it over, which is also great. There is, though, one thing that creates a variable that I cannot really tell you much about. It seems like Sabadell, if I'm not mistaken, a Brazilian bank, is acquiring HSBC Uruguay. Will that change things? I don't know. Last time I spoke about this, it was 2 weeks ago with the clients that just recently had a call with them. And they said, so far, it's all the same, but just for you to know, in the upcoming months will be acquired, and that may change things. On the onboarding side, not the fact that they would close his account or whatever, but on the onboarding side, it's gonna work differently. I truly think it's gonna be easier, and it's gonna be more prone to work with non-residents. because there's a reason Brazilian banks are acquiring the Uruguayan banks, because all the Brazilians want to move their money out of Brazil. All of them. So banks must have said, hey, everyone's fleeing with their capital. Let's just intercept it on the other side of the border, you know? So their best clients are going to be Brazilians opening non-resident accounts in Uruguay. Therefore, it would be stupid of them to show resentment to non-residents. And indeed, they acquired the bank who was already the most friendly towards non-residents. So I don't think that's going to change much. But
So it would be anyway easier to open a bank account in Uruguay to open, let's say, a bank account properly. Bank account in India.
Like in Uruguay, what you will have is, on the one side, a proper brick and mortar bank in a jurisdiction that has proven to be a very solid, historically speaking, banking jurisdiction that is well connected to the world. Like in Paraguay, you can have a great account to deal with local funds, but you will always have the same issues with external funds. And if you don't want to deal with a non-resident bank account in your country of origin or some fintechs, what is really left is that, or going to open Chase in the US. Why? Like, I really have seen that operating the accounts in Uruguay is amazing. Like, they can send and receive from and to anywhere in the world very easily. And also, every time I pay the rent, the SWIFT fee, and it's SWIFT transfer. In Paraguay, that costs like $80 to 120, depending on the bank. I pay 8.5 euros. And the next day it lands. So I'm shocked at the efficiency of Uruguayan banks, and you wouldn't get that level of SWIFT connection with Paraguayan banks. You would have to go for the proof of funds and this and that at all times.
Or to open a Chase account in the USA.
Yeah, but even then, Chase would be great to like generally bank from the LLC into your Chase. And Chase is also great if you want to have a US account because of the cards they give you miles. But US accounts aren't that fast or cheap when it comes to SWIFT. Probably only Singapore I've seen and Switzerland being faster when it comes to SWIFT. You're welcome.
So it's even better than Panama, I think. Uruguay.
Much better. But Uruguay has never been grey-listed, blacklisted. Everyone sends happily money to Uruguay. Super happy. Panama, no. Panama has had ups and downs, and it still keeps going up and down, in and out of the lists. And
But I mean, you ask who called money, for example.
Like a Panama structure, like a Panama foundation is great to hold your assets, but Panamanian banks aren't that good. Like, when you want to send money to Panama, you're like, wow, why? And then when you want to send money out of Panama, again, because the recipient is, again, like, money from Panama. And that is a point. Like, Panama is not, like, if you talk some very good banking jurisdictions, they're not tax havens. Singapore is another tax haven, nor is Switzerland,
Much better here.
nor is Ireland. I mean, Ireland was kind of a tax haven, but like for billionaire multinational companies, no.
Singapore has, as far as I know, high requirements.
Yeah, they do. But AirWallex is an account you can open based in Singapore for your LLC that gives you 4 different currencies.
Which one?
AirWallex. Yeah, they give you euros, US, British pound, and Canadian dollars or Australian dollars, one of the two. And it's a very good bank, even though their onboarding is tricky. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no, very randomly. There is hardly any logic or pattern behind the rejections or approvals. But yeah, it's like, I remember once a client from Singapore himself, his name was Rana. He sent me money, he sent the payment via SWIFT. It arrived the same day. I didn't think it was possible. Same day Swift. Wow. Crazy. And on his side, no questions. On my side, no questions.
Even when you send to there, it's actually very fast, like accepting it as well.
Yeah. No, it's the banking jurisdiction along with Switzerland, and Uruguay is third below them, but very solid. And also Uruguayan banks don't ask those many questions, so they're reasonable. Like, where you get the funds? Oh, I'm employed, and they want to see like your contract or something, like easy. Investment savings, they want to see a screenshot of your bank statement of the investment brokerage. So like reasonable, it's not saying let's not ask anything, but the amount of things they ask is something that makes sense on both sides. Like, it doesn't bother you too much, and it allows them to know where the money's from.
And they are okay with Paraguay Residency.
Yeah. Also because HSBC Paraguay used to exist, but then they sold. Oh yeah. They accept anyone other than restricted countries, like same as always: Syria, North Korea, Venezuela, Russia, those.
Why do Brazilians want to live in Brazil that much?
It's an exodus. It's insane. In fact, last year here there were 48,000 applications for residency, and more than 30,000 came from Brazil. It's an exodus. Yeah. Lula is taxing everything, and he's very much against the rich and the entrepreneurs. Brazil has a rich side, which is the south, and the poor side, which is the north. And it just so happens that if you do the math, you want to rely on the votes of the poor because they're more. And he got it clear, So he favors a lot of welfare policies, like heaps of welfare policies, prohibits certain things, like restricts the access to the favelas from the police, and a lot of other things that like to get the votes from the favela, you have to be kind of friends with the cartels. He's very good at doing that. And to finance the welfare, he raised taxes on everything. He canceled a lot of policies that were making the Brazilian industries more productive. And he's also, he plays this game where it's like Brazil is a very closed environment, It's far from any other big economy in the world. They consume their own movies, own music, own products, own brands. So if you are very rich in Brazil, I can tax you pretty much as I want because your mobility is lower than that of other people. And because at the same time, if you want to keep enjoying the benefits of this economy, which is really much protectionist, there's a lot of very high import duties in Brazil, you still have to keep your company open, so I can tax it as much as I want. Like the other, what are you going to do, close it? You can't really delocalize because then the import duties are going to kill you. You can't move it somewhere else because there's no economy like Brazil in the region. So he just knows he can play that game very easily. That is something that has heaps of Brazilian fling. Now, other than that, this has caused also a rise in violence in recent years because of, like, Bolsonaro was seen as a person who would be inhuman because he would allow violent operations against the favelas. There are a dark and a bright side, okay, to this story, because when you do a police operation in a favela, for each criminal you kill an innocent. It's impossible not to. The famous bala perdida means if you start shooting in a place where the density of population is insanely high and the walls are made of tin cans, some bullets are gonna hit somebody that they are not supposed to, and if a person just crosses the street in that moment, you don't have time to think if it's a criminal or not, so you have to shoot. And that caused a lot of backlash, and then Lula came. There was a lot of backlash, and this was when Bolsonaro was president, so up until the end of COVID. And then Lula got in with this idea of a lot of prohibitions now, and you have to, even if you want to use the helicopter for the operations, you gotta tell it 72 hours in advance. So there's some very weird policies. And so all in all, the Brazilian entrepreneurs are fleeing, and Paraguay now is giving them an option to flee, because with the Maquila, and I've done 2 big events in Brazil, and once I spoke, this was in December, I spoke in front of 130 entrepreneurs, but like very big entrepreneurs. I visited some of their companies. They have 2,500 employees in some cases, like building like huge factories for electric panels, for mining operations. We visited, what's it called, steel factories, medical vests factories, like, and I was impressed by the size, the amount of wealth. It was in Goiânia. The amount of wealth in that region is insane. And now also, if you own more than 3 apartments, the tax on the rent you collect is crazy high. So there's like a huge tax pressure, and the feeling that Lula is also going to win again, because Bolsonaro, and the sensation it's getting into a dictatorship is also pretty strong, because censorship, they prohibited access to X, imprisonment of political opponents, they jailed the previous president, and lack of true opponents, because now the right has 2 candidates that are, well, first of all, divided, because they're 2, and both weak. So, and plus, at the end of the day, there's less rich people remaining to vote. There is this famous joke in Brazil, but I know a lot of people will do it, that it says, to get your revenge, go back to Brazil, vote 13, and then go back to Paraguay. 13 is Lula. But it's great news for Paraguay. So I do hope he wins again, because that is absolutely a blessing for Paraguay. Just like I hope Milei loses in Argentina, because that is another blessing for Paraguay. Egoistically speaking, if the communists win around, it's better for here.
I'm a break. Come on. They suffered a lot of it. A few more years.
Yeah, I guess that they suffered a lot in Paraguay as well. They invaded Paraguay. So, there's a bit of historic karma coming into the equation, I guess. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, Brazilians are fleeing all over. It's crazy. Cheers. Well, guys, thanks.
It's like you should wait to get like 5 minutes of your time.